Hi, welcome back to the channel, and Happy New Year, by the way. Around about this time of every year, gym memberships, all sorts of subscriptions and memberships do rise, but usually the inevitable happens, and we all know what that is. That's not to say that staying motivated is impossible, but it requires a lot of planning and a lot of persistence. So we'll talk to you a little bit about trying to stay motivated, trying to be organised, and trying some basic planning for the new year. When we set our objectives, we need to be realistic and focus on what we can commit to, not what we can or want to achieve. So for example, instead of setting ourselves the goal of losing 10 kilograms in weight, we could instead set ourselves the objective or the commitment of exercising 3 times a week and eating no junk. That's an example. So instead of putting something that is not in our control as our goal, we can put something that we can definitely control as an objective and something that we can commit to. Another thing to bear in mind when setting goals and objectives and planning for the new year is to try not to overwhelm ourselves with multiple goals and multiple plans and being vague with some of these. So if we try and simplify things and make things specific, then we can definitely try and achieve them. So how do we plan and how do we set our goals? Now there is a simple strategy that we can all achieve by 3 steps. First is to set our destination. It makes sense to know where we're headed. And second is to reverse engineer our journey or reverse plan our journey to work out the body of the plan. And third, by being intentional, which is working that plan out. So setting our destination, it makes sense. If you're studying for an exam, you want to know whether you just want to pass or you want to pass with a distinction. If you're aiming for a job or if you're looking for a challenge or starting up a business, you need to set your destination. You need to know where you're headed. That's first of all. Secondly, which is probably the most important part of planning, is reverse engineering your journey. So once you've got a destination, instead of forward planning from now to that destination, it's easier to reverse plan, to work out what you need to reach that destination, but working that in reverse is often easier. So for an example, is a medical student who wants to do cardiac surgery, for example, wants to become a heart surgeon. So that medical student would then want to think about what steps do they need to go through. So heart surgeon, then they work backwards. They need to have done, for example, a fellowship in heart surgery, and to have done a fellowship they need to have done surgical training as a registrar, and to have done that they need to become a core trainee, and before that foundation training, and obviously before that to finish medical school. So working that way is a good method of trying to identify the steps that we need to work through, and certainly the objectives that we need to set ourselves. And finally, be intentional, and I think that's key to success. I often say, probably mainly to myself, is don't let life happen to you. Don't just wake up and roll with the punches. You need to control your life with obviously some degree of acceptance for uncertainty and being flexible, but not letting life just happen to you. So you need to be intentional with how you use your time, how you plan. So being intentional with using our time requires a degree of watching or auditing. So I've been recently listening to a podcast called TED Radio Hour. They interviewed a time management expert and author called Laura Vanderkam, who is an advocate of time auditing, wrote a few books, including one called 168 Hours, which is the amount of hours we have in each week. So certainly that method is an eye-opener, because if you decide to record everything you do in a week and how much time you use for each activity, for example, for work, for hobbies, for family, for sleeping, for meals, for going out, all of these things, then that helps give you insight into whether your time management is efficient and effective, whether you need to change anything. And once you've got that, you need to be intentional. If you find you're taking too much time watching TV, then you need to be intentional, make a plan, decide that you're going to watch only on a certain evening and for a certain number of hours or minutes. If you find that there is a new goal that you're setting yourself for the new year, then you need to look through your weekly audit and find the time. Is there something you can stop doing? Is there something that's not essential? Like, for example, playing video games, and if you've got an exam or if you've got a job that you're hoping to get, then you might drop the video games and add that time to prepare for your exam or for your job. Key to this is forming new habits and becoming intentional about that as well, because if we want to achieve things, we need to form the right habits. Lots of books recently that you can look into about the value and importance of habits. One habit I'm taking up this year is journaling. I've certainly done journaling before, both as pen to paper and electronic. Certainly over the last few years I've been trying to use more electronic methods of journaling and recording and documenting my days. However, one of my favourite authors and bloggers, Austin Kleon, does share a lot of his journaling on his blog and newsletter. His posts of his wonderful and thoughtful journal entries are often something that makes me jealous. So I've started to go back to that pen to paper feeling, which I definitely miss, and I've gotten a few notebooks inspired by his collection. These are the ones as well as this one. So these are just pocket notebooks, just for a handy daily writing of any ideas that come to you. This is the daily log, so it's essentially a small diary for 2025, and you just log what happens during the day in a brief way that you can come back to later on. It helps you with that auditing process, but it also helps you go back and review your days and months. This he calls the commonplace book or diary. You can look at the concept of commonplace books. It's a popular thing, but essentially he uses a 5-year diary to write the year, and you write something in each space. The way he does it is he writes quotes, and I'm going to do that as well. So a quote a day. I find I'm already using that when I'm writing my newsletter. I'm using quotes that I've already recorded in this commonplace diary. And then finally, the main or big diary. Obviously his wasn't that big. I made the mistake of buying an A4. I should have bought an A5. But anyway, it's just a standard soft-bound journal, and you freely write what you think inside it. And certainly that is helpful for setting and reflecting on goals and objectives and plans for the year. I hope that you found this video useful, and if you have, please subscribe to the channel so that you can find more similar videos in the future, and I will see you when I see you.